What is up, guys? We are back. It's your boy Effie with Any Action Sportscast, here to go over UFC 301, Alexandre Pantoja versus Steve Erceg. This is going down in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, so the crowd is going to be wild, man. These guys are going to be yelling crazy stuff to the fighters. Should be an electric night. And yeah, man, we have three big bets so far, so we're actually going to start the show off with our bets, then go into our picks for the whole card. And at the very end, just like last week, we'll be talking some NHL playoffs at the very end. So stick around. If you like some hockey and some hockey talk, we'll definitely do that this week. So without any further ado, let's get right into my bets. Our very first bet of the night will be on Joanderson Brito to defeat Jack Shore. We're taking his money line at minus 160 for 3.2 units. If this bet hits, we will profit 2 units on this bet. And I'm expecting it to win, man. So in this fight, we have two pretty much two pretty well-rounded fighters. I'll say that about Jack Shore, man. To me, though, it's the size and physicality of Joanderson Brito that's really going to play a big-time factor in this fight. Jack Shore is looking to grapple, man. He's looking to take down Joanderson Brito. He's looking to hold him down and rack up control time, some damage, and hopefully get a submission. But I just don't think that's going to be the case against Joanderson Brito. Yeah, in his last fight against Jonathan Pierce, he did get held down up until, he got that sub, kind of like a crazy finish, submission victory for Brito in his last fight. But before that, man, I feel like he does a good job in his fights of keeping the fight upright. And even then, when he does get taken down, he has a lot of confidence in himself off his back, man. He has a lot of good sweeps, a lot of good reversals, a lot of good, elbows from bottom, Charlie Oliveira, Tony Ferguson style. And he's active, man. He's just not laying, on the bottom, accepting downtime, accepting getting controlled at all. Whereas Jack Shore, man, he's a relentless wrestler, man. A guy has very good cardio. And good grappling from his own right, man. It's just on the feet. I don't think that they're even close. I think that Brito hits way harder, has better technique, and just overall way more dangerous on the feet. On the feet, I expect Brito to be winning this fight pretty much the entire time. And on the feet, I feel like he has enough to match Jack Shore. And one thing I really like in this fight is that Jack Shore, to me, is just not a natural 145er. To me, he's a natural 135. He should be a weight class below. This is his second fight up at 145, and we saw Marquand Amirkhani in his last fight take down Jack Shore and have some grappling success in his own right. So I feel like Jack Shore's game plan is just not that great for someone like Joanderson Brito, man. I feel like the physicality, the fact that this is in Brazil, the fact that Jack Shore hasn't fought in almost 2 years now, is taking a big layoff, which is probably good for him. He's probably filling out in his 145 frame a little better now. But in his last fight, man, at 145 going up a weight class for the first time, he looked chubby, man. He had no abs, and he just looked kind of sloppy in there. So I just think that the level of athlete in this fight is just the gap is so wide. I gotta go with Brito, man. I like the speed, I like the striking, and I like the offensive defensive grappling from Brito. So for that reason, I put 3.2 units on him at minus 160 to collect 2. And our second bet of the night will be on Jonathan Martinez to defeat Jose Aldo. We take Jonathan Martinez's money line at minus 145 for 2.9 units to collect 2. Now, this is going to be a tough fight, no doubt. A huge step up in competition for the young guy, Jonathan Martinez, in this fight. I mean, Jose Aldo's a legend, man. The king of Rio de Janeiro, fighting in Rio de Janeiro, coming out of retirement after 2 years to return to the UFC and be the co-main event of this, fight card. And I just don't think that he's going to win this fight, man. For one, that age is just so much, man. 7 years older for Jose Aldo. He is 37 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years, coming out of retirement, fighting a guy that absolutely cracks. Jonathan Martinez has devastating low leg kicks, very good calf kicks. It's actually kind of funny that he's matching up with Jose Aldo because he's famous for his calf kicks. Even though in his most recent run in the UFC, he kind of faded away from that sort of game plan there and was more of a boxer in there. He actually utilized a lot of grappling in his Marlon Chito Vera win, which is good to see. He showed a lot of good takedown defense against someone like Marab, who wasn't able to get him down, which is actually kind of crazy looking back. I was actually at that fight in Salt Lake City, and I actually bet money on Jose Aldo to defeat Marab Dvalishvili. I obviously lost that bet, but it's not like I'm anti-Jose Aldo or just picking him, because I think he's super old. I just think that it's Jonathan Martinez's time, man. This guy's ascending in the UFC. Very powerful leg kicks, like I said. And it comes down to, can Jose Aldo check those kicks? Is 100%. I think he will be able to. I think that those initial rounds, the beginning exchanges, we're gonna find out right away who's gonna win the fight, because if Jonathan Martinez goes out there and Aldo isn't able to check those leg kicks, which I would find surprising, then he's gonna cruise in this fight. But if Aldo can check those leg kicks, then it can get interesting, because at boxing range, Aldo has very good hands, man. He likes to rip to the body and go up top after. He likes his uppercuts, to counter those those kicks from Martinez. But I just feel like the speed, it's gone, man. Like, you're 37 years old, you haven't fought in 2 years, and it's, fair to assume that he's going to be a step slower, a little bit slower. And for that reason, I think that Jonathan Martinez will have good enough speed, man, to really match Jose Aldo on the feet here. And as far as the grappling, I think that Jose Aldo is a better offensive and defensive wrestler in this fight, but I actually don't expect it to go that way. I feel like this guy's coming back in front of the fans. You know, the emotions are going to be going crazy for him. He wants to give the fans a fight that they want to see, and they're going to throw down in this fight. So if that's the case, I'm going with the guy that's not 37 years old. I'm going with the guy that's younger in his prime at 30 years old, who's on a crazy winning streak, man. I will say though, I'm fair, man. I understand. Like, I always want my bet to win, but I gotta look at, the other side here in Aldo. Like, how can Aldo win this fight? And I feel like he can win a decision if he can check those leg kicks and really put the volume on Martinez with the boxing. But if you look at his last 4 wins for, Martinez, Vince Morales, this guy's he won via decision against Vince Morales, and Morales is on the regional scene fighting in Vegas on Tough Enough here, so he's not even in the UFC anymore. After that, Cub Swanson, he knocked him out brutally in the Apex and really chopped his leg off. Kind of crazy to watch. But Cub Swanson was like 50 years old in that fight, similar to Jose Aldo. And after that, Cedric Nurmagomedov, and this is the fight where I was like, okay, this dude's for real. And you could argue he lost that fight, but I did think he won that fight. Showed very good defensive wrestling in that fight, and obviously did enough to win it on the judges' cards, and he looked good in that fight. And after that, he absolutely schooled Adrian Yanez, where he got a knockout win, and I definitely did not see that coming because Yanez is a very good striker in his own right. But yeah, man, it's not the greatest run. Definitely the best fighter he's ever faced will be Jose Aldo. And it's funny because the UFC actually wanted this fight to be Dominic Cruz. They wanted Dominic Cruz and Jose Aldo to be the co-main event of this card. Dominic Cruz is injured, can't take the fight, and in steps Jonathan Martinez. So I just feel like he's going to take advantage of this big opportunity. And for that reason, I put 2.9 units on him at -145 to collect 2. Our third bet will be our biggest bet of the night. The biggest bet we've had on our channel in a very long time. We're going with the champion, Alexandre Pantoja, at -185. We put 3.7 units on him to collect 2. And we're going with him to win this fight, man. We're going and still. I think that Alexandre Pantoja defeats Steve Erceg in that main event on Saturday and retains his belt. Yeah, man, and no disrespect to Steve Erceg, man. Do I think he's a very good fighter? Yes. Do I think he's talented? Yes. Do I think he's a well-rounded fighter with good grappling and good striking in his own right? Yes. This guy is very tall and long for the division, has size on his side, has youth on his side, and very good striking 1-2 down the middle that he lands on all of his opponents. And he's competent, man. This guy knows what he's doing there, a good fight IQ, and good cardio, man. Has very good chin. This guy's everything you wanted to see. But the thing is, this is his 4th fight in the UFC. He's getting a jump up in competition, straight to the title fight here. And, it's not like his fault or anything. If you look at the division, Pantoja was either beating everyone in front of or, below him, or, someone's booked or injured. And then you go far enough, man, the next guy available is Steve Erceg. So it's not like that crazy he got the title shot. But I just think that this is a huge step up in competition. And the fact that he has to go all the way to Brazil fighting against this guy in his home country, I mean, it's going to be tough, man. But if you actually look at how the fight should play out, man, Alexandre Pantoja has no striking defense, man. This guy does not care at all about his health, man. This guy is chin down, walking forward, zombie mode, taking a shot to eat, taking one shot to land 2 type of fighter. But the thing with him, man, is he loves his takedowns and he loves his back takes, man. And that's what I think is going to happen in this fight. I feel like that at some point in this fight, Alexandre Pantoja will take the back of Steve Erceg. I think that once he takes the back of Steve Erceg, he's going to be able to win that round, cruise it out, and really finish the round out from there, or find a submission finish, man. I really like his rear naked choke, sequence from Pantoja, man. I like the grappling from Pantoja. I just feel like he's a different level of fighter than Erceg, man. I think that he has him covered on the feet. He has him covered in the grappling. He has him covered in the championship cardio. He has him covered in the chin and the heart, man. I have to go with Pantoja in this fight. Championship level experience, high level, fight opponents. The level of competition that he has fought in the UFC is nowhere near the level of competition that Steve Erceg's fought. And that's not Steve Erceg's fault, man. It's only his 4th fight. But Pantoja's been here, man. He's an OG of the division. The one thing I do worry about in this fight is that he is 34 years old, 6 years older than 28-year-old Erceg, and he's going to be the smaller guy here. So, and the way he fights, man, he makes all of his fights wars, man. He goes forward and he's taking shots, man. I can't deny that. I can't deny the fact that Pantoja gets clipped in almost every one of his fights, but he has a rock solid chin. Until that chin goes, I'm going to go with the champion, man. Give me the guy in his home country, defending that belt and ascending into, a very good title reign, man. I love Alexandre Pantoja as champion. He's super active, and I just feel like he's a better fighter here. So at -185, I had to lay 3.7 units on this, fighter to win his fight and reclaim that belt, man. So we're going with Alexandre the Cannibal Pantoja, and still. Now it's time to talk about the rest of the fights on the card from the very first fight of the card on up, and give you guys some picks, man. So I'm going to be really quick and short with these picks, a couple sentences about every fight, and then we'll get into the NHL playoff portion of the show. So the very first fight of the night right here on the bottom of the screen, you can see, I'm actually kind of surprised that it's the opening fight, man. Alexander Costa taking on Kevin Borjas. These guys are going to throw down, man. It's going to be a very exciting fight against 2 pretty good young fighters here. So Costa coming in right here on the left at -130, the favorite. Borjas on the right here, coming in at +110. So I'm going with Costa in this fight. I like the fact that he's a better grappler in this fight, but on the feet, I'm not convinced that he's a better striker in this fight. Kevin Borjas is very good striker in his own right. He is quite hittable, and the one thing that I didn't like watching tape from him is that he has, kind of not the best striking defense. He likes to pull his backstand straight up, and he's really exposed to the body. In his last fight, that's what really cost him, man. Van, his opponent, was able to really utilize his high guard and really rip the body of Borjas in that fight. And he slowed down, so that when you're getting hit to the body and you're backing up the whole fight, that really limits your cardio. So I don't know if it's a case of Kevin Borjas just having bad cardio, or the opponent really utilizing something he saw earlier in that fight to really get to Kevin. But if Costa gets him down, which I do think he will, Kevin has shown some suspect takedown defense in his previous fights, like especially on the Dana White Contender Series. Then Costa should be the better grappler here. I just feel like he will get him down, and then from there, that should be his fight, man. I feel like Costa is a better grappler in this fight. Decent enough on the feet, has very good calf kicks, very heavy hands. Not the best striker, I'll say, but I like the grappling, man. So I feel like he has, he's pretty even on the feet here and with a better grappling. So I'm going to go with the slightly better fighter, in my opinion. I'm going with Costa in this fight, and that's going to be a very close fight, man, as you can tell by the money line right there. So yeah, I'm going with the favorite Costa to win that fight and start the night off. So give me the Brazilian to win that first fight. Then up next, that's not going to change here either. We have Ismael Bonfim taking on Vince Pichel. Bonfim coming in at -550, and Vince Pichel coming in at +375. So that's going to be a theme for the rest of the card, guys. Insanely wide favorites, insanely wide lines here. So you got to be careful if you're parlaying. Who's going to bust? Like, who's going to be the fighter that blows it for everybody? With their crazy parlays. And I don't think it's going to be Bonfim. Vince Pichel, he's getting up there in age, man. He's 40 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years, and he's going up against a young savage in Bonfim. And this screams the UFC, getting Bonfim right. Bonfim got knocked out in his last fight against Benoit Saint Denis, who is actually a top 5, top 10 fighter, so that's not that bad of a look. I don't want to say he got exposed or anything. Obviously, Saint Denis is a very good fighter, so Bonfim is a little bit patient, a little bit on the lower output side, but he's strong, man. He's a very strong athlete, good grappling, pretty calm off his back. He doesn't really freak out or spaz out or accept bottom position too much off his back. And yeah, pretty decent fight IQ. Whereas Vince is actually kind of more well-rounded, man. This guy has a ton of experience, actually 7-3 in the UFC, which I was actually surprised to see. And he's quite durable, man. But the fact of the matter is, he's 40 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years, and he's going all the way to Brazil to fight a guy that the UFC wants to win. This is actually a rebooked fight. They had booked it before. I don't know why it fell out. Something must have happened, so they had to reschedule it. And the UFC said, you know what? We want to keep this fight. We want this performance from Bonfim. We're going to get him a highlight win. And I think that's what happens, man. So I'm going to go with a late finish here from Bonfim. I'm going a round 3 KO here from Bonfim. We actually expect Vince, the underdog here, the +375 underdog, to look good in the beginning of this fight, man. I feel like he's going to try to wrestle here in this fight because at feet, I feel like there's a huge speed disadvantage here going for Vince. And I think the speed from Bonfim, the power from Bonfim, and just overall youth and explosiveness from Bonfim is gonna be what wins him the fight. So I feel like he finishes Pichel, which I know doesn't happen very often, but man, like I said, man, 2 years off, 40 years old, give me Bonfim, the Brazilian, to win that fight and look good doing it. Now, up next, we have a women's fight right here, the third fight on the screen. Diana Barbosa versus Ernesta. I'm not going to say her last name because I'd mess it up. Kura Kakate. Going with another Brazilian here, third straight Brazilian to start the card here. Going to be a theme, like I said, guys. The UFC wants the Brazilian fighters to show out on this card, and I feel like they gave her, the Brazilian girl in this fight, a good matchup here. So, on the feet, Ernesta has very good output. As far as her last time, at her last fight, she was throwing an insanely amount of volume. It was one of those fights where Dana actually signed both fighters on the Dana White Contender Series because how exciting and good the fight was. But man, she was getting hit all day long in that fight. Her striking defense isn't the best, and that's her thing, man. Ernesta wants to strike. She's a striker. She's not going to want to grapple in this fight. Barbosa is a beast on the ground, man. She has very good ground pound, very good sweeps, very good ability to pass someone's guard and get to mount. She's good on the mat, man. Barbosa, legit prospect on the mat. I'll give her that. On the feet, obviously not as good as Ernesta, but she does throw a little bit heavier, man. I feel like her shots are going to be landing with a little bit more force than Ernesta. Ernesta's more of like a volume, try to outpoint you type fighter on the feet, whereas Barbosa's throwing heavy overhands, heavy hooks, slamming little leg kicks. And I just feel like there's a huge size advantage in this fight. I believe Ernesta, let me see right here what they say. Yeah, so 4.5 inches of reach and 3 inches of height. So she will be the bigger fighter here, Ernesta, in this fight. And I feel like when that happens, the shorter fighter obviously wants to get under and duck under and grab her. But I feel like a lot of it's going to be coming from in the clinch. And in the clinch, I feel like Barbosa will be able to reverse positions on Ernesta in this fight. And from there, I feel like she's going to be able to judo throw her or trip her and get her down, and then the fight's probably going to be over from there. So I actually really like Barbosa in this fight. Two unproven fighters. Neither fighter in this fight has a win in the UFC. They're both coming off Dana White Contender Series, so they're both looking for their first actual UFC win. And I'm going with Barbosa, man. I feel like she's a supremely better grappler in this fight, and if she does get the fight down, which I do think will happen, it's going to look night and day. So give me Barbosa to win this fight. And I just don't know if the finish on the mat is going to be a ground and pound finish, from a good advantageous position, or a submission. So I'm going to go with a ground and pound. I feel like Ernesta, I don't know, man. I'm going with submission. You have those long limbs. You have those long, skinny arms. It's easy to wrap something up. So give me Barbosa submission round 1. Up next, we have another Brazilian taking on an Australian. We have Mauricio Rufy taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Rufy comes in as a -210 favorite. Mullarkey at +175. And I think that's a little bit wide. I know earlier in the week, Rufy was around -170, and that's like the area where I would agree, and I feel like that's a pretty fair line. At -210, I feel like it's a little extra. You're paying a little bit of a tax on that now, because Jamie Mullarkey has a lot going for him in this fight. He's a lot of experience, a lot of output and wrestling in this fight that I feel like he's going to utilize in this fight against Rufy. But man, thing with Jamie is that he could be winning the fight, bro, like looking good the whole time, and then get clipped one time and then get knocked out. Like Jamie Mullarkey's chin is suspect. You can't be betting on a guy with a suspect chin. It's just so frustrating. I mean, I had Ryan Spann last week. He looked good. He goes and out wrestles the guy in the very first round, gets bonked in the second. So getting behind a guy who has a suspect chin is always worrisome. So that's what I think a lot of people aren't doing here. They're looking at Rufy here to knock out Jamie. Rufy's a good striker, those heavy hands. Dangerous, fast Brazilian. He has a kind of like a funny bouncing like karate style. I mean, people compare him to Conor McGregor. He likes to hand fight. He likes to hand like find your range with his hands, like kind of like prod him out there. A lot of hand fighting from Rufy, but I mean, he throws heavy, man. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he could be low output as well, though. This one I kind of disagree with the line. Like this one, I'm like, okay, a little bit like I'm gonna stay away. Like I'm not 210 confident on Rufy, but I am gonna pick the favorite, another Brazilian, and I wouldn't be shocked if he knocks out Jamie Mullarkey. But if Mullarkey can make this fight ugly and clinch it up and really cage push in this fight, I wouldn't be shocked. You're getting knocked out by Nasrat, hack press, and that just can't happen. So Jamie Mullarkey's been knocked out by guys who have way less power than Rufy, so I gotta imagine that Rufy's gonna go out there and knock out Jamie Mullarkey. So I think he finds that one shot, whether it be in the first or third round. I feel like at any moment it could happen. Why I can't just get behind Jamie Mullarkey, the guy with more experience and the grappling upside in this fight. Give me Rufy to win via knockout. And a rare Brazilian underdog right here. We have up next, the last fight on the early prelims, we have Joaquim Silva taking on Drakkar Klose. Silva comes in as a +155 underdog, and Drakkar Klose comes in as a -185 favorite. And so for this fight, man, two aging fighters, 35 and 36. Can't get behind either guy. I'm not going to be betting this fight, but I'm picking Drakkar Klose because I just feel like he's a better overall fighter, man. I feel like the striking goes his way, and I feel like the volume goes his way, the experience goes his way, and the grappling goes his way, man. Joaquim Silva, he knocked out a dude. I forget who it was. This white guy, Jesse Ronson, I believe his name was, and that guy had no chin, man. That guy could have got knocked out by the dude that does your Vaseline. Like, there's moments where Silva's looked good. Don't get me wrong. Like, this dude has cracked people before. Looks like he has serious power. I mean, he didn't knock out, but he really rocked and hurt the dude that just beat Charles Oliveira, Armin Tarzuki, in that fight, which is actually kind of crazy because he was on like 4 days' notice in that fight. And hurt like a top contender in the division. So that's very impressive. But he also got finished in that fight. He also lost that fight. And he just, he's kind of mid, man. I'll be honest. Like, neither guy, I'm not running to the window to bet on these guys. I feel like Drakkar Klose, like I said in the beginning of the breakdown, like he does have him covered in every single area, man. I just feel like he's a better striker, cleaner with the punches, throws more volume, and also will have a size advantage in this fight. So I know it's small, but I'm not crazy confident. At -185, I don't see myself parlaying or betting him or really touching a prop in this fight. Maybe fight doesn't go the distance, if anything. But yeah, man, give me Drakkar Klose, the American, to win and defeat the first Brazilian of the night. And up next, I'm going with another Brazilian to lose. We have Gene Silva taking on William Gomes. Silva on the left right here comes in at -120. William Gomes as the underdog coming in at +100 even money. So I'm going with the Frenchman here. I'm going with William Gomes, and I hate William Gomes, guys. Straight up off the top, I do not like William Gomes. I don't like watching him fight. I don't like him as a fighter. I don't really like him in the UFC. I honestly don't know if he even knows that he's in the UFC. UFC stands for Ultimate Fighting Championship, not the Ultimate Point Fighting Championship, because that's what William Gomes does, man. This guy point fights, just teeps, kicks everybody, and circles out. A counter puncher to the extreme, man. This guy's actually really big for the division. 6 foot tall, 145, kind of crazy. I always think that's why when I see guys with that kind of frame at those divisions, I always got to wonder how durable they are, and that's going to be a real problem here against Gene Silva. Gene Silva is a madman. This dude is crazy. Definitely don't miss this fight, guys. this is gonna be the first actual real quote unquote prelim of the night after the early prelims. So definitely get to your TV and watch Gene Silva, because you're gonna want to watch him like even from his walkout. Hopefully they don't cut and go to commercials during the walkouts, because this dude is crazy, man. This guy will do dances, like scream, bark, like do crazy stuff during his walkouts. It's actually kind of wild to see. So as far as how he fights, so he's kind of the same way, man. This guy is reckless going forward, chasing guys. Like he's going to rush, going to throw heavy shots, and that's the thing with William that actually kind of plays into the underdog here. Gomez's game plan, man. This guy likes to circle, likes for you to crash, likes to counterpunch off from angles, and from there, really pick someone apart. So William Gomez doesn't throw heavy shots at all. This guy has no power. He's okay jiu-jitsu off his back. He's like I said, really tall and long frame, so he's actually kind of dangerous with those submissions, those attempts, those leg locks and stuff like that. But man, like, I don't know if Gene Silva is that good. Like, yeah, he's finishing people, getting crazy finishes, but I mean, I'm still kind of hesitant on him as a fighter. But he brings it, man. He's exciting, and that's kind of like the only thing you can really ask for in a fighter. So I know William Gomez isn't exciting, and I know he's not a fan favorite here at all. But man, I'm going with a tall, alarm guy that likes to be a counterpuncher against a guy that likes to rush forward. I feel like it's pretty simple. Give me William Gomez to win that fight as an underdog. Oh man, this one's a banger. I wish this one was higher up on the card. These guys should get a lot of love, man. We have Elves Brenner taking on Victor or Bali. Brenner coming in as a plus 210 underdog, which is kind of crazy, and McBektik coming in at minus 260 favorites. So that has moved a little bit. Money coming in on Bali here. I feel like a lot of people are going to be parlaying here. And if you just look at the screen, guys, look right here on the screen. I mean, this guy Mikdik looks like a straight up Neanderthal. He looks like a caveman that was frozen, and someone found him, in the Arctic, and then unthawed him and unfroze him. And this is what he looks like, guys. Like this guy is weird looking, man. This guy looks straight out of Mongolia, the lair to Kangaskhan, all that stuff. But as far as the fight, man, this is going to be a banger, man, because let's start with Mick Bektik, since we're already talking about him. Very good, very well-rounded, man. So good striking and obviously a very good grappler. This dude will suffocate you. He likes to get that body lock. He likes to wrist ride you, Khabib style, like we saw the Russians kind of really make popular in the UFC. And he's a very active fighter, man. This guy, when he fights, he's pushing the pace, man. He's going forward, he's trying to strike, and if that doesn't help, he'll level change, get you down, and really maul you from there. In every area, in the grappling and the striking, he looks like he knows what he's doing. He looks like a legit problem. And yeah, man, so he came and made his UFC debut on a few days' notice and really mollywopped Uros Medic. And that's another thing. He actually took a lot of shots in that fight in the beginning, and so that kind of showed that, dang, he has a good chin. So I know the one thing about him that I kind of don't like is that his level of competition before the UFC is not good, man. He has a crazy highlight win where he uppercuts a guy. I think it was LFA, and the dude's head kind of snaps like crazy. But that guy was like a complete bum. So yeah, it's great. You're putting great tape on film, but who are you really doing it against? How much can you really take away from that? Whereas Elvis Brenner, man, he's fighting straight savages in the UFC. His last fight against Guram Kutulaze, I mean, Guram's better than any single person Earl Bali's ever beaten in his life, 100%, no doubt. And Elvis Brenner was losing that fight, man. Elvis Brenner is what we call a dog, man. This guy will go through the fire. He will make a fight dirty, man. He'll cut you up. A shooter box guy with guys like Charles Oliveira and them, they like to throw elbows. Their Muay Thai is stick, man. He likes to rip to the body, and he's going to be in the fight for all 15 minutes, man. This guy has way higher level of competition and has showed good in those fights. So it's not like he's fighting good fighters and then losing. It's like, oh well, at least he looked good. I was like, no, dude, he's actually winning those fights. So to see him at plus 210, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. But I'm going with Bali in this fight, and the thing it comes down to, guys, you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. Bali wears a funny hat. This guy walks to the cage with one of those funny hats. It's not furry, it's not an animal, but it is a funny looking hat. So once I saw that, I was like, oh shit, sorry, Elves, you're screwed. I know it's in Brazil, I know you're Brazilian, but you're screwed, bro. I think Bali gets him down, rides him out, and pounds him out. So give me Bali inside the distance. Should be a banger fight. We should get a lot of answers in that fight, and I can't wait for that one, dude. Up next, we have a women's strawweight fight between Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Yasmin Lucindo. I'm going to keep this one short. Kowalkiewicz is 50,000 years old, and Lucindo is not. And so for that reason, I'm picking Lucindo to win this fight. Now, I'm joking, but for real, Lucindo's going to win this fight. The money line, though, minus 400, I don't know about that. We all know Karolina's, she's been in the UFC for a long time. This is her second stint. She retired, came back, and she actually has won, a few fights in a row now, which is kind of surprising. I did not expect that in her return. But this is where it ends. This is where it ends. She's going to lose this fight brutally, and she's going to retire after this fight. So the shocking, the experience, goes to Kowalkiewicz. Just the youth, the speed, the power, 100% goes to Lucindo. I'm going with Lucindo to win that fight, man. I mean, guys, she's 16 years younger. A 22-year-old versus a 38-year-old. I mean, I don't have to say much more. Give me Lucindo to win that fight. I feel like she's going to be a popular parlay piece for a lot of people out there. We already talked about the Jack Shore Johnson Brito fight. Brito's going to work that dude. Brito all day. And then the very first fight of the main card, guys. We have Paul Craig taking on Kyle Barallo. Paul Craig coming in at plus 450. Kyle Barallo at minus 725. What the hell? Oh my gosh, 725. That's different than from the beginning of the week for sure, man. Holy crap. I'm filming this on Thursday, and let me tell you, that line has moved a lot. Holy crap. Minus 725. Like, nope. Gotta say, disagree. Don't think that's the case. Don't think he's minus 725 in this fight. But he's gonna win. Kyle Barallo on the right here, he doesn't have a picture for some reason, is gonna win this fight. Paul Craig, one-dimensional submission artist, is gonna submit you, man. If he can't submit you, he's gonna lose. He's definitely not gonna outstrike anybody in this division. He's pretty big for the division. I will say that he is going down. He was at 205 for the most part of his career. Has wins over guys like Jamal Hill and Magomed Ankalaev, which is definitely, you know, like something to hang your hat on for sure. Respect, bro. But Kyle Barallo, a legit black belt in his own right. And it comes down to how does he win? Does he win a decision, knockout, or submission? I feel like he wins via knockout. I feel like he's going to show out in front of the Brazilian crowd, his home country, even though he trains in Vegas. Give me Kyle Barallo to win via ground and pound at some point in this fight. I think it actually comes late. I feel like Paul Craig, is able to stay alive in this fight for at least 10 minutes and then get finished in that third round. So I'm pretty confident in Kyle Barallo. But oh my God, minus 725. Who has done that? Who is parlaying him? Who is still laying it at that price? I mean, what price do we have to get to Paul Craig to lay on Paul Craig? Not me. I won't do it. So give me Kyle Barallo, knockout round 3. And another wide line. This gotta be a theme, guys, on the main card. This is kind of crazy, man. It's some Bellator PFL type lines. We have Michel Pereira taking on Ihor Pretoria. Pereira on the left right here, the favorite at minus 650. Ihor Pretoria, the underdog on the right at plus 425. And again, guys, I disagree with this line. Do I think Pereira's going to win that fight? Yes. Do I think, is he my pick? Yes. But is he minus 650? No shot, man. Like, this one, I'm like, yo, I might have to take an underdog shot because Ihor, he's not the best. I get it. He's not the best. A lot of people don't like him. For some reason, like he danced, like he did a crazy emoji type celebration one time in his fights. Ever since then, I feel like a lot of people don't like him. But I mean, he's not like a complete bum. Like, don't get me wrong, he's not like a complete total trash out the UFC type fighter. But he's not that good. Like, he has heavy hands, good striker, and that's about it. Like, he's gonna fade. He has no cardio. And I mean, you can say that about Pereira too as well. I mean, I'll say it every time this guy fights. I say it every single time on every single one of like my videos. I've seen this guy at the gym, and this dude is savage, like huge. Like, I cannot believe he was at 170 when I saw him at the gym. He at that time was still at 170. He ended up missing weight a couple times after. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, that dude's 170. Like, what? How? Like, this dude looked at least 200 pounds. Since then he's moved up at 185, which should be his weight division. And he's looked good in it. So I just feel like the speed definitely goes to Pereira in this fight. But guys, to win his last fight the way he did against Erceg, and to come in to here at minus 650, I mean, he missed weight against Stephen Thompson. Like what are we doing? Like, and then Wonderboy didn't take the fight and comes in as almost a minus 700 favorite in his next fight on a pay-per-view in Brazil against a heavy-handed Ihor Pretoria who can definitely knock him out. I mean, no way, bro. I'm passing. I'm not parlaying him. I'm not touching this. No shot. If anything, if I were to bet that's dog or pass. That's dog or pass all day. Oh, wow. Like, I don't think Pretoria is plus 400 in that fight. I'll say that much. But give me Pereira to win via knockout in that second round. Due to the fact that I think Ihor is going to go for it and then gas out and then get finished. Up next, man, oh my goodness. We have my favorite fighter, Anthony Smith. Dana White privileged Anthony Smith taking on Victor Petrino. Anthony Smith comes in as a plus 425 underdog. Petrino at minus 650. And this one I do agree with. That's even then, man. That's so wide. We're acting like as if Anthony Smith is done, like completely washed, more than washed. He's out the dryer. He's already dry. Like he's gone through the cycle at this point, man. This guy's had 50 professional fights. Oh, he's been knocked out 10 plus times. Like, this guy's taking so much damage, man. This guy's talking about, taking money from my family against Johnny Walker. Weird moments like that in the octagon. And he just got brutally knocked out by Khalil Roundtree in his last fight. And then the UFC's like, you know what we'll do? We'll give you a pay-per-view slot. Like, what is this Dana White privilege? Why is Anthony Smith on the pay-per-view? Like, how did he get this fight? And to me, it's like, oh, okay, the UFC's like, all right, well, it's over. The experiment's over. We're going to let him get finished on a pay-per-view in front of a bunch of Brazilians by a Brazilian prospect who's up and coming and looking like a savage. And then that's that. So Petrino, very good fighter, heavy hands, kind of low output, I'll be honest, on the feet. Doesn't throw enough strikes for me, for my liking. But he throws heavy, man. So if one of those strikes lands, I mean, you're going out. He's actually utilized a lot of grappling in his last fight, which is kind of surprising. But he's a pretty competent grappler in his own right. But dude, I think that's where Anthony Smith has an advantage. I think that Anthony Smith has an advantage in the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu area in this fight. But I just feel like, man, he is so old, has so much damage and wear and tear on him, and he gets marked up easy. So I've seen him hurt to the legs. I've seen him hurt to obviously the head, the body. Obviously knocked out. Give me Petrino, man. This is Petrino all day. This is a setup fight. The UFC is dirty for this. They're setting up Anthony Smith to get slaughtered, man. Give me Petrino to win that fight in the. I'm gonna go second round because I feel like Anthony Smith isn't completely toast, man. I feel like he at least makes it one round and then gets finished. So give me Petrino round 2 knockout. We already talked about Jonathan Martinez and Jose Aldo. We think we're going with Martinez. Should be a good fight, but I'm going with the decision. Jonathan Martinez via decision. And then the main event, we already talked about it as well in the very beginning of the video. I'll put timestamps to go back and look at that breakdown. So yeah, we're going Pantoja and still. That'll do it for the UFC picks portion of the video. Thanks so much. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who you have on this card? Let me know any underdogs you like. Any locks, any over under stuff like that. Let me know in the comments. So without any further ado, let's get right into the NHL portion of the video. Yeah. So the very first series we'll talk about right here on the screen. We'll look at the bracket. We got the Dallas Stars and the Golden Knights. Now this has been pushed to Game 6 in Vegas on Friday night, tomorrow night. Golden Knights obviously winning the very first 2 games of the series. Dallas coming back, storming back, winning the next 3 in a row. And I feel like they ended on Friday, man. I feel like the Stars are going to end the Golden Knights season on Friday. It's tough to see. It sucks for my Golden Knights. Really rooting for them. We're going to be rooting for them hard on Friday night, tomorrow night. But I just don't think they have enough juice, man. The Stars look like a team that's really figured out after those first 2 losses. Golden Knights going with their backup goalie in Game 5 and end up burning them. They lose a 3-2 game where, they actually scored first, which is a big thing in hockey. But the Stars, man, they just looked at the depth is too much, and the Golden Knights are taking a lot of dumb penalties right now in the series, and they just can't get going. So I'm going with the Stars. I think the Stars advance. It's actually kind of funny because whoever wins that series, the Stars or the Golden Knights, I don't think it matters, man. I think the Colorado Avalanche beat them. So yeah, I'll get right into it. The Colorado Avalanche advanced. They beat the Winnipeg Jets. I thought the series was going to be closer. I didn't expect it to be 4-1 kind of blitz like that. But god dang, man, this Avalanche team is for real. It kind of looks like it's a collision course between them and the Oilers at the moment. But yeah, whether it be the Dallas Stars or Golden Knights, I'm picking the Avalanche, man. Kind of tough for the Stars to match up with the Golden Knights because both those teams have Stanley Cup aspirations, a Stanley Cup roster in my opinion. Both those teams, and they're going to run into an absolute wagon. A really polished team in the Avalanche. And if they can get good goaltending, man, it's going to be hard to beat them, man. They lead the league in shots on goal so far in the playoffs. Yeah, man, they've only played 5 games, so the Avalanche are for real. They're going to beat the Stars or the Golden Knights. Up next, it's our team. Let's go Canucks. We have the Vancouver Canucks and the Nashville Predators, and the Canucks definitely messed up, man. They were up 3-1. They had a chance to close the series out, game 5, in Vancouver, and they lost that game 2-1. After going up 1-0 in that third period, give up 2 third-period goals to lose the game. And, now they have to fly all the way to Nashville and play them tomorrow night on Friday. And I'm actually extremely confident that the Nashville Predators are going to win Game 6. I feel like the Friday game is going to go to Nashville, and then Game 7, Sunday night, in Vancouver, will go to Vancouver. So I'm going with the Canucks to advance in this series after 7 games and take on the Edmonton Oilers. The thing with the Canucks, the keys to victory is that they can't take dumb penalties. They can't give up, penalties to the Predators, even though their penalty kill is on fire, which is really a tough look to see in our last game. The Canucks gave up a game-tying goal on a goal that, in my opinion, could have been challenged, and they would have won the challenge. But the thing in hockey, guys, is that if you challenge a goal, to see if to get it overturned, to see if a rule was broken, the illegal goal type thing. And if you lose that challenge, the other team gets a power play right away. So you can give up a goal and then give up a power play right away. That's a tough spot for your team. But the fact that the Canucks have killed I think 14 out of the last 15 penalties at that moment, I feel like you have to roll the dice and go for the challenge, because if you lose and the Predators get a power play, I mean your power play kill has been on fire. So I feel like they definitely messed up an opportunity there to challenge a goal and keep the game 1-0 in their favor. Who knows, maybe win and end the series there. I feel like the risk would have been worth the reward there. So yeah, man, it's gonna go to Game 6 tomorrow in Nashville, and I feel like Nashville wins, man. I'm as confident in Nashville to win Game 6 as I was in Vancouver to win Game 1, and I put $300 on Vancouver to win Game 1. So I might be betting big on Nashville tomorrow night, but I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see where the line is. I see Nashville's minus 125. We'll see who the Canucks go with their goaltending, because they've been starting their third stringer the last 2 games. Maybe they go back to DeSmith, their backup goalie. But we'll see, man. So let's go Canucks. Canucks here. Game 7 victory for the Canucks on Sunday. Yeah, and then so if they win, they'll match up with the Edmonton Oilers, who, my God, man, they look like a wagon. This team is polished, man. This team is ascending, a well-oiled machine at this point. The Oilers are on fire. Their defense, their offense, just clicking. Their goalie, getting a shutout against the Kings to put them within 1 there. Just great stuff, man. Stuart Skinner is looking great behind the net. McDavid's passing it to everybody. Draisaitl is looking good. It's going to be hard to beat the Oilers, and it's going to be really hard to beat the Oilers if they're getting power plays, man. If you're committing penalties against them, you might as well just not even show up, because their power play is on fire. If you're betting, goaltending or goal scorer props, player point props, stuff like that, the Oilers are a team you want to look at because they just put up a ton of goals every single game, and they can win a tie game, they can win a shootout. So I feel like they're just well matched to really match up with anybody. But if they match up with the Canucks, the Canucks can win it and advance that series. I feel like the Canucks play a good defensive game, and the Oilers won't be able to match. And the goaltending isn't the best from the Oilers, so I just need the Canucks to advance and get to the Oilers series that next round. And from there, who knows, man? So, yeah, I think the Canucks will match up against the Oilers, and if that happens, going with the Canucks. Up next, the Panthers eliminated the Lightning, which kind of sucks to see. I had a futures on the Lightning. They just didn't have enough firepower. The Panthers look like an absolute wagon. In my opinion, they're probably going to win the East. Which brings me to my next series, the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins. Boston Bruins and Maple Leafs are actually in Game 6 starting right now. On the screen right here, you can see 20 minutes, first period. It's about to start. So I'm recording right now during the first period. If the Bruins win this game, they will advance, and they will play the Florida Panthers. If the Maple Leafs win, they will push a Game 7. And we all know the Bruins last year had the best regular season of all time in NHL history, and then choked it away. We're up 3-1 against the Florida Panthers, and then they blew it. So they ended up losing 4-3 in that series. And it might happen again, man. So no Austin Matthews again for the Maple Leafs. Something's going on. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how he can play the first 2 games of the series and then not play the rest. They're saying he's sick, so I don't know what's going on with that. I feel like he has to be severely injured to not be playing. Because if you're missing an elimination game twice for sickness, that's absolutely wild. So whoever wins is getting eliminated by the Florida Panthers. So whether it be the Bruins or the Maple Leafs, they're both going to lose to the Panthers. The Panthers are not going to get stopped by either of these teams. They're better than both these teams every single area. So, yeah, Panthers against the Bruins, Panthers. Panthers against the Maple Leafs, Panthers. So, yeah, hopefully the Maple Leafs can win and push a Game 7 because Game 7s are awesome. And I don't like the Bruins. So, and then that brings us to my last series, man. Rangers, Hurricanes. This is a banger. I'm going with the Hurricanes, in this matchup. This should be a very good series. Rangers haven't really been tested. They got a walkthrough, cakewalk in that very first round against the Capitals. Capitals shouldn't have even been in the playoffs, so they kind of got a first round bye. And then the Hurricanes, similar thing, man. They lost 1 game to the Islanders and kind of dominated them the whole rest of the series. And I just feel like they're a good team, man. I have a feeling it's going to be Panthers, Canes in that Eastern Conference final. And to do that, they need to get past the Rangers, man. Neither of these teams have weaknesses, guys. Neither of these teams have an area where I'm worried about them. They're both good, man. Very good offense, very good defense, very good special teams, very good power play kill, very good goalies and experienced coaches. So, very deep rosters, but I do think that the Canes do have a little bit more firepower, more ability to get points from the whole roster, more depth type thing. So, yeah, man, I'm going with the Canes to advance and then play the the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah, man, if you're looking to bet on Friday, take the Stars and then take the Predators. Yeah, that's all I got for the NHL portion of this week. Once the matchups get made and we know who's in the next round, I'll make another video and another video like this for next week. So, yeah, man, thanks so much for watching the video. I'll see you guys next week. Good luck on your bets. Let me know what you think about my bets, and peace.